Diego.
It's the greatest city in the history of mankind. It's a fact.
Two local San Diegans that look at obstacles as an opportunity for growth.
If you don't fail, you're not even trying.
Michael Carini is the Acrylic Alchemist.
You can call me CEO
of Carini Arts. And Vicente, Vinnie, Enriquez.
No one could do it better.
The team lead of the Enriquez group.
Ride with us.
I think you did something. Your hair was shorter in that video, isn't it?
Well, I used to shave it on one side, and then I just realized how much upkeep that was. So now that I'm living the poor life, I'm like, I can't afford to do that. I can't even afford to get a haircut as often as I used to.
How often were you getting a haircut?
When I had it like that, I was working next to the barbershop, and I would have to do it probably once every week and a half-ish. Wow. And now I kind of try to stretch it 3, sometimes if I can 4 weeks. I start to look a little shaggy after that, but costs of haircuts have gone up and I've had to cut expenses. So I was thinking the other day, maybe I should just get some clippers and clipper it myself, because I could probably save like $300 a year doing that, but I just know it would look terrible.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I know people, they'll do it once a week or twice. I mean, every other week. I mean, for me, I was probably doing it like, I don't know, right now I'm doing like every 5 weeks. Sometimes I was doing it, man, I was taking, a couple of months. But yeah, it is wild how good you feel when you get a nice haircut and get it cleaned up a little bit. I did some shaving to my face too. I got trimmed down and even shorter. My wife's like, you know what? It's getting too long. You look like a homeless person. So
yeah, I used to have the facial hair a little bit longer, but I don't like to use a straight razor or anything like that. I just like to use the clippers. And now that I'm getting more gray in the beard, I go with the 1/8 inch and just use that all the time. And just so it keeps it so that there's a little facial hair, but nothing is as long as it used to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. There's always those memes, right, where it's like when the person gets rid of the facial hair of the guy, it looks like it's an easy way to make a chin, right?
Yeah,
like you have the heavier set people or the maybe not defined and that kind of stuff. Yeah, but it's.
You can hide a lot of secrets behind a good beard.
Yeah, I know, it's so true. I mean, that's I mean, I think for our cheat code, guys' cheat code is the beard, right? Women's cheat code is the chest. I'd probably say, like that's society for these. But I doubt it was always like that. I mean, not always like that. I wonder what it was back in the day. But anyway.
Yeah, I think it depends on the culture too, and times are changing. So,
yeah, I mean, well, I know for yourself. I mean, we've talked about this before. That a lot of your stuff, a lot of your content's out there where you have your shirt off and you're basically, working it for the ladies right there. That's kind of your cheat code to get a little extra eyes, huh?
Well, okay, so it was, but since my accident, because of the way that everything works and because of the limitations while I go through my rehabilitation and physical therapy, I haven't been able to do that. And so that has been a big hit on business too, or I have to wonder if that's a big hit on business. But if things keep going the way that they're going, I was talking to my roommate and she was saying, hey, we might be getting to the point that I'm going to have to start that OnlyFans page for you, because a guy's got to do what he's got to do to keep a roof over his head in San Diego. And they're building a complex across the street from me. They tore down a bunch of the small businesses, and it is $2,500 for a studio.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I was listening to, I think, Joe Rogan or something that he was talking about it. $2 billion, I think it was what he said, that was OnlyFans revenue last year. Something crazy like that. I mean, there's definitely money in there if you're willing to push yourself to that degree.
There is, but I think it's kind of like the art industry too. I think it's that the top people earn the vast majority of that. And I think that for that industry, the women do much better than the men do. I think that, like, if I was to go into that, I know that there would be a very specific audience for me. And I don't necessarily think that it would generate the revenue that a very successful top tier woman in that industry would be able to do. So no knock on anybody for doing it. Hey, everybody, all power to you. If I could make the big bucks doing it, then I would be an easier decision for me, but I don't think that I would generate the results desired. And that's why I've kind of always been on the fence about it, because I could care less. You know, I'm not married. I don't have kids, anything like that. I'm an artist, so I'm supposed to kind of break the rules and be a little bit out there. So I feel like I can get away with a lot of things that a lot of other people can't, because I've been seeing all these stories lately about people needing to get side jobs, and they do that, and then their other job cracks down on them for what they're doing in their personal time and how they're choosing to earn extra income.
All right, so I just Googled it right now. This was for, I think, 2021. So the top, let me see. We're gonna go, yeah, male. So the top male was making $1.9 million a month.
A month?
A month.
Okay, I may need to start working
no,
out a little bit more.
This guy Tigger, I think he's a rapper. He was making $7.6 million a month.
Okay, I'm gonna start cleaning up my game a little bit, and maybe I'm gonna have to hit that, because those numbers are hard to argue with.
That's crazy. I mean, what would the I think is another rapper. Yeah, another rapper. This guy was eating food, I think. He was making $500,000.
Yeah, see, I'd have to have like a thing. And people have told me, they're like, well, you could do like the painting shirtless or painting naked type thing. But I don't know that would be all that aesthetically pleasing or fun to watch.
Yeah, that'd be kind of, you definitely have some kind of gimmick. I mean, now what would that gimmick be? I mean, you never know. I mean, maybe it's like you're painting something, and every 4 minutes, you take off another piece of clothing or something like that, and you keep painting. So it's not like full nude, and you kind of work your way to it, and you get that build up.
I have to layer up so that I have like 50 layers on, like double up on the socks and stuff.
Building up until you get to that finish point.
There's a few people, so not on OnlyFans, but on Instagram that I follow that have like their little niche market. There's a bodybuilder or a guy that does weightlifting that's super impressive. Like he does 225 like on the barbell with one hand, and he'll like just go on and he'll walk around with 4 plates on his back as he goes into like Subway to get a sandwich or something like that.
Oh my God.
And then there's another bodybuilder so that guy, I think his page is something like It's a Dream World or something like that. Yeah. And I guess he used to be a professional football player, but he's one of the strongest guys in the world.
What's his name?
I don't know his actual name, but his page is It's Dream World or It's a Dream World, something like that. But I guarantee you've probably come across him on Facebook or Instagram. Yeah. And then there's another guy that I really like on Instagram that does these videos of him doing like super heavy deadlifts, but he does it like on a skateboard or doing like all these crazy things where he's going to get hurt. And I just don't know how the guy hasn't had this like massive injury that's taken him out of the game.
Well, yeah, talking about injuries, man, as you age, man, every little thing could possibly injure you. I mean, I was do I push through it? Is it an injury, or am I actually injured? Am I hurt or am I injured? I mean, like, it's never know. I had one, it was so random. Like I woke up and I just felt like a pain on my right side. And it was just like, what the hell like is going on? Just like a random like pain on my right side where it was like hurting to like move my arm. I was just like, wow, this is like a hip. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, age, man. Age.
Yeah, late 30s, 40s, you sleep the wrong way, you wake up and you were injured for months.
Well, so yeah, what's new with you? Anything new and exciting?
Still fighting to find myself. I had an interesting scenario though this week. Well, I had a couple interesting stories. So one, now that it's getting colder because it's like the first gray day that we've had in San Diego, yeah, I feel like fall is finally actually here. And so the other day I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? I want to get a pair of sweatpants. I haven't got a pair of sweatpants in years, and I've gotten a little bit bigger, so I want a big baggy pair of sweatpants. So we were at Target, and I asked my roommate, I'm like, where are the sweatpants? And she pointed out some stuff, and the design on them was so weird. Like I was like, no. I'm like, I want the $9 Champion ones. And she's like, what are you talking about? Champion's like a big brand these days. Like that's not the cheap stuff anymore. So my mind is just blown because I remember back when we were in high school, like you want the cheap stuff, the $9 sweatpants, you go and you get the Champions, like the big baggy Champion sweatpants.
Yeah, for sure. That's not the cheap one, huh? What's the cheap one now?
it's some weird brand, but the way that the waistband was and everything just like didn't look right to me, and I was like, no, it just feels wrong. I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. When I put sweatpants on, it makes me not want to do stuff. I mean, if I have like I have a if you're watching this live, my own polo shirts from the real estate team, man, I put on one of the polo shirts in the morning, put my slacks on, and I'm ready to work. Once I get that stuff off, I mean, I have shorts on, it's like I gotta work out. It's like every like clothes has a different feeling to it. If I put like sweats on, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be relaxing here, maybe get some popcorn, go watch a movie. Like it's funny how that the clothes you wear gets you into like the mindset that you're gonna be in. At least for me.
It does. You know, I was thinking about that the other day, and I was wondering if I was the only person that felt that way, because when I put on my workout clothes in the morning, it's like, okay, now we're in this mode. And when I do get home in the afternoon and I finally put on the comfort clothes, it's an indication that I'm done with the hard stuff and it's my time to relax.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do. It happens to me all the time. I'm just like, you know what? I'm ready to relax. I mean, haven't had like a bunch of ice cream, like a bucket of ice cream, but yeah, no, for sure. The clothes definitely play a factor in what I'm going to do and what I want to go. But so what do you got any plans for the holidays? I know you don't really get too crazy, but you do have a pumpkin in front of you. So I'm wondering if you got some backstory behind that.
I did finally go to the nut farm, so that's my big thing. Every year, go to Bates Nut Farm. So that was pretty much it. The holidays are probably going to be really light this year, just because times have been tough, and I'm still navigating all this stuff that's going on. But you know, I'm just grateful for the things that I do have, and I'm appreciative for the things that I have right now. So I'm counting my blessings and just working with whatever I got. But everything's going to be pretty low key this year.
So you went to the nut farm. Where you get at the nut farm?
When did I go?
What'd you get?
Oh, I just got pumpkins. I couldn't really afford to get anything this year. Sometimes I like to get some snacks from the general store, and I wanted to feed the animals, but my roommate forgot to bring the quarters, so I'll never let her hear the end of that for the rest of eternity. So she's probably in her room right now and can probably hear me talking about that. So I wanted to feed the chickens and the pigs and the mini horse and all the animals.
What does your roommate do?
She helps run the farmers markets for Little Italy and also one of the farmers markets in Chula Vista. So she helps manage the vendors and do the setup and all that type of stuff.
Are we ever going to get her on here to talk about who she is? We hear about the roommate.
It's one of those questions of, does she really exist?
Yeah. Well,
I feel like that's her way of
interesting to get a perspective of you know, Carini, man. What's he like? Is he make a lot of noises? Is he a talker when he sleeps? Is he what's going on?
So that's a funny thing because she runs the markets or helps run a couple of the markets. I go to the Hillcrest market every Sunday, which is just like a block or two from where I live. And a lot of the vendors there do the market that she does. So they know her. So sometimes I'll talk to a vendor and I'll be like, oh, do you do this market? And they'll say, oh, yeah, we do the Little Italy market. And I'll be like, oh, do you know Tristan? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, we know Tristan. I'll be like, oh, I'm her roommate. And they'll be like, oh, I've heard about you. And I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. What did she say?
What did she say?
I don't know.
Do you think she says positive things or negative things?
I would guess probably positive, because she treats me way better than I deserve and is just a blessing to my life that I probably take for granted too much, and treats me really well. So I know that even though I feel like I sometimes am just awful and treat her poorly, she says very nice things about me.
The farmers market, the Hillcrest one, if you guys listening haven't been there, I mean, they have a lot of food there. I mean, that's the majority of the food, that farmers market there on Sunday. They got some pretty good food. I think they had like what was like dumplings. I think like multiple different places of dumplings and just a lot of food there.
Well, Sunday's my cheat day too, so it's my time to get like I'll go buy the hot foods and I'll be like, oh, what do we want to cheat with today? But the truth is, I end up getting like the same things pretty much every time.
What do you get?
Lately, I've been getting a panini from this panini place. There's also a place that does these smashed burgers, but they had like these breakfast sandwiches and chicken sandwiches. Yeah. So I was trying those. And then I've been getting this new thing lately called Dirty Balls. It's a woman-run business, and there are these like plant protein balls that have like peanut butter and I think like cinnamon and some spices and some they call it like they're dirt, but it's just vitamins. And so that one's pretty clean. So even on my cheat days, I feel like I'm pretty clean about it. And that helps make it easier to get back into the week, which is nice because nothing worse than just feeling groggy moving into the week.
Well, nothing worse. Eating some dirty balls.
They taste good, and the funny thing is that it's a woman-run business. So
the that is interesting too. I guess the idea of dirty balls. I mean, you probably go to the gutter when you think about that. But also too, it's funny when like, talking about marketing, right? So being like for myself, real estate field, right? And then for you, for the artwork, you lean a lot more into, I think, sexuality and things like that in your stuff. For me, it's that thin line. I mean, I try to show who I am with like comedy when I do the advertising stuff, but I think I'd probably get a lot of pushback if I said, make sure you clean yourself, even those dirty balls, before you come into our listing. Right? I mean, for you, you'd say, if you said something like clean those dirty balls and watch buy one of our paintings, that's probably something you actually would say.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that I necessarily always lean towards sexuality over something else, but I think that I just have a little more liberty in terms of what I can get away with and what I can say. But no, I mean, about the marketing, yeah, and I think it works for some of the brands because I love that brand and it caught my attention. I saw that and I'm like, oh, this is like, what is this? And then I was like, oh, it's protein. You know, that's something I want to try. And then there's another vendor there. I think it's called something along the lines of Not Your Nana's Sauce. And it's pasta sauce. And it's an Italian girl that runs it. And she's got a lot of funny shirts too. So I always talk to her and say, you know, it's funny. We Italians have the best humor in our marketing and stuff. Like I did a video on Instagram the other day where I took a clip from The Office where it was the episode where they were debating whether or not Hillary Swank was hot. And Kevin says something like, a painting can be beautiful, but I wouldn't bang a painting. So I took a painting and I cut a little hole in it and I wrote on the back, like where I title my paintings, I wrote For the Glory. And so I played that audio and like looked at the painting as I wore like my Paint Hub shirt. And then when I went to the pumpkin patch, I wasn't paying attention to what I put on that day, but I put on my Paint Hub shirt and somebody was like, oh, I really like that. And they kind of like were joking, but then they made a comment of like, oh, like a kid-friendly place. But like, you know, it's only that if you're making that connection to it, because it doesn't actually say anything bad. So,
go back to the painting. You talked, it was something about the glory.
So I cut a hole in it, so it was the idea of a glory hole.
Yeah, glory hole. Yeah.
And then I wrote, so for the glory, and then like looked through and then like put my finger through the painting while I played that
like
on. What's that?
Is that one of your paintings you sold like that?
No, that was just like a little, like a dummy painting, like a cheap canvas. I just kind of did that really more for just the humor of doing the video.
Yeah, that'd be. I wonder if you get someone probably would buy that for the glory if you actually made a painting and did a hole in it, and that was like a gimmick. That was your glory paintings.
Well, I mean, I do live in Hillcrest, which is it's a very gay-friendly neighborhood, and so I'm sure a lot of times, like, you know, I go out and I'm shirtless, covered in sunscreen and whatnot. You know, I'm probably attracting a very specific demographic there. But in regards to what you were saying about the marketing and the messages, you know, there are times that it does come back to bite me because I'm moving into this place now where I have an agency that I work with, and sometimes I work with big brands, and I let brands know I am who I am. I'm going to be me. If you don't want to work with me, I respect that. But I'm not going to not be me or change who I am for somebody else. And particularly right now, because I'm dealing with the traumatic brain injury. And like some days I'm on point, or at least kind of closer to on point to where I used to be. But some days I just really struggle. And like I feel like I'm fighting to find myself and to remember who I am and who I was. And so I get challenged by people about like who they think I should be, what they think I should do. And I'm very almost self-conscious and sensitive about it right now. And so like I had an opportunity where the San Diego Watercolor Society had contacted me about being a juror for one of their shows. And so being a juror is like, okay, we're going to pay you and you decide what gets into the show. So basically like you're the judge of a show. And so they approached me. They saw the type of work that I do. They could see, because I am out there, like, you know, this is who I am. And so it came time to submit a bio photo and the work that I wanted for the show. And I wanted to submit a piece that was an homage to Twitch, the dancer that we lost to suicide at the end of, I think it was 2022, because there's a lot of dance studios down there. And I thought, it's in Liberty Station. I thought, you know, that's a good place to show that and to raise awareness for mental health, because I did the show with the Expressive Arts Institute at Arts District Liberty Station back in 2017 that was dedicated to my father. And so I submitted that, and I submitted a picture of me from a photo shoot where we created a 3D world with like my big paintings behind me, and I'm wearing a shirt that says "I just arted." And they did not like the shirt. They thought that it was basically, she said, not to be approved, but you know, a more conservative audience. And part of me gets that. Like, I respect, you know, who people are, but in respecting who people are, I ask that they respect who I am. And as long as I'm not crossing a boundary, which, you know, I just arted. Like, arted isn't an actual word. It's just making art a verb, and it's the past tense of it. So you could, you know, connect it like, oh, farted, you know, or whatever. But you have to make that connect. You have to decide that that's what it means to you, because arted doesn't really exist. It's not in the dictionary. So they kind of had an issue with that. And so they came back to me and they're like, well, you know, we're a little more conservative. And that's the reason I've kind of always steered away from these types of groups and societies. But then they also had some issues with my technique at that point. But my technique hasn't changed from the time that they contacted me. So they ultimately, because I said, well, you know, I don't really have a lot of pictures of me because I'm neurodivergent, and I honestly don't like being in a lot of pictures. And I don't like being in a lot of pictures right now because I've been having some physical difficulties with some things since my accident. So I don't feel comfortable being in a lot of new photos. So like I said, well, these are the photos that I have available. And they came back to me and said, you know, we kind of felt like we were taking a chance with you, and we just really don't feel comfortable. So we want to dissolve the contract. So they canceled the contract on me, and one of the few paid opportunities that I've had. And they since tried to leave me a voicemail and said, hey, you know, like, can you call us back? We don't really feel good about what we said. We feel that we may have come off a little cold. But at the point, you know, that you did do that, like, I don't have anything else to say at this point. Like, I'm in a very delicate place of trying to find my, like, so there's no hard feelings on my end, but I want to be me, and I want to stick firm to being me and not who other people want me to be. And I think that that's something we need to remember, especially in this time. It's like we get so offended when somebody's wearing something that we don't agree with. We don't have to agree with it to respect that somebody else wants to represent something else.
I mean, okay, this is a slippery slope. I mean, I see where they're coming from. I see where you're coming from totally. And I mean, it's a slippery slope of, okay, well, why do you wear a t-shirt when you go into, or why do you wear pants when you go into a school? Right? I mean, because you want to respect basically the kids, and you don't want to basically provide any kind of nudity, right? I know they're kids and that kind of stuff, right? But it becomes that idea of it. Okay, well, it's a moment in time, and if they're asking me to quote unquote culture it up a little bit, right, I can respect their opinion because they're going to be paying me for it. Now, are you giving yourself up a little bit? Well, yeah, maybe you're not. That's a t-shirt that you really want to use, but it's also their venue, their event. So you have to kind of respect them. So I totally agree with you. It's a balancing act of it. And I mean, like, I know for myself, when I'm talking to like different clients, I mean, I try to portray who I am, but also too, I got to respect who they are, and they're spending their money, or they're using their money to pay for my services.
Yeah. And I think it really also comes down to the industry and the circumstances of things. It's like, I'm in the industry of being an artist. Like, this is what I do. I make art. I'm supposed to be one of these people that breaks the rules and does, you know, pushes the avant-garde and the boundaries of things of what's okay and what's not, and gets people to think about things. And so I wear shirts that are about art, and a lot of them are my design. So it's me and my creativity. So anytime I'm dealing with an organization, even if it's a, you know, somebody that is paying me, if it's a creative organization that is going to try to stifle the creativity for something that I don't feel is crossing the boundary. Like, if I really feel like it's crossing the boundary, like, oh, okay, you know, like, I get it. But when I don't feel like it's crossing the boundary, and it's something that is supporting the arts, and it's me trying to market myself because this is how I make my living, that's when I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I respect your decision, but yeah, we probably shouldn't work together at this point. And that's why when they said, okay, like, we think maybe we should dissolve this, I was like, I'm not going to fight you on it. I understand. Do I support them or the way that they're doing things? I respect the fact that that's what they want to do, but I don't necessarily think it's a good representation of the arts, which is supposed to be welcoming and inviting and inclusive.
We all have our standards, right?
Yeah.
We all have our standards. I mean, what you're willing to do for $100, what I'm willing to do for $100, what someone listening is willing to do for $100, we all have basically what our standards are, right? I mean, to the point of some people that are really well off, they won't do anything. I mean, hey, drive me to the store over here. You're gonna get a lot of people saying, "Okay, I'll drive you to the store." Other people say, "I don't need that $100. I'm not gonna drive you to the store," right? So we all have our standards, and it becomes to the point of how much we're willing to bring our standards down to accommodate basically something we either want in life or how we want to how we need to find our next meal or a room over our head, right? So it's great. I mean, I know for myself, I mean, I've basically fired some clients because I didn't appreciate how they were talking to me, right?
Yeah.
They didn't see the value in who I was, right? But I have the ability to keep that standard. Now, when I first got in the business a long time ago, people would be shitty on me, and I'd be like, "Thank you, sir." Let's
yeah, that's the tough part, because when things are tough, you almost feel like you have to take it. And so that was the hard part for me right now. It's like I haven't had anything coming in, and I'm really struggling to work. And some days my cognition is just so far off. So I'm like, I was excited because I was like, here's a chance to do some good and to support some other artists. And maybe I can do some talks, and I'm willing to do media. And I thought that I was actually going to be bringing a very high standard to them. Yeah. But I don't consider me dressing within my comfort zone as a neurodivergent artist. And like, I wear things based on comfort. Like there are certain things that I do not feel comfortable wearing. Like when I go to my art openings, I wear my art shirts, and my galleries know that. Now, one of my galleries the other day also said, we don't necessarily want to use that photo for your bio photo. We want to use a more serious photo. And I said, okay, that's fine. You can use the photo that you already have. But I do feel like, I am far too often, at least in my mind, I feel like I'm very reserved or constrained, and life is hard at times. It really is. And so the way that I'm able to deal with that, to manage that, is by bringing a little levity to life with the jokes, with the parody, with even poking fun at myself as an artist sometimes in the struggles, because it is very, very hard. And, that's the way that a lot of people deal with the struggle, is by trying to laugh and just kind of roll with the punches. And so I thought that, that would have brought a little fun to the Watercolor Society, a different approach, because they did start accepting acrylic paintings, which I thought was okay. I was like, okay, maybe they're changing the way that they do things, because the reason I've steered away from these groups and these societies is because generally it's a bunch of older retired people that decided to pick something up as a hobby. But once you're a society and you have funding, you're presenting yourself as an authority. But are they more of an authority than somebody that does this for a living? So I thought that I would be bringing that kind of value to it. Not that I'm better than anybody, because I'm not better than anybody, but I thought it would be a different approach. So they did say that, part of it had to do with my materials, but I felt like when they said the materials thing, they were more trying to cover up from the fact that they don't like the way that I present myself, because I could have picked a different piece in regards to the materials. Like that was an easy fix. But because I'm kind of in this mode of trying to find myself and to remember who I am, I'm at a point where I'm kind of having a firm stance with people of like, this is who I am. If you don't like me, then you can just go away and you can go do your thing. And it's not any hard feelings. It's just that, a traumatic brain injury, it's traumatic. Sometimes you forget who you are. And I'm trying to fight to remember who I am right now. And so I'm not letting anybody kind of sway me from that. So I'm kind of, putting my flag in the ground and maybe stamping it a little harder than I have in the past.
Well, I like you. I appreciate you. I bet you there's people listening right now that like and appreciate you. There's probably some people that don't like you. There's probably more that probably don't like me. But either way, I'm a fan
No,
of
you're
Michael.
like the most likable person. It's funny too because I was thinking about this earlier today, like with our podcast being called Sunny Side of San Diego. I was like, Vinny's really the sunny side of this, and I'm the gray day that comes in. Like I feel like, and I had to have a talk with somebody the other day because I was like, I feel like I come across as a negative person, and I don't mean to. I try to be practical about things. I try to be realistic about it, and I will say what the issues are. But I also try to work through the issues. Like I don't just go like, oh, things suck. Like, I try to work through it. I'm like, okay, times are tough right now. What can I do? I'm trying to work through it. So I view that as being, I don't want to say positive person, but I feel like I'm at least middle of the road. I'm trying not to be like a Debbie Downer about things. And I have tried to shift my outlook because I had to catch myself in a spiral a week or two ago and say, we're going down a really dark path and we just need to accept that this is what the situation is. And if I, just decide to die here, then that's what's going to happen. I'm going to die here. So I have to decide that, what, I'm just going to work with what I got and I'm going to do what I can. And I'm going to try to dig my way out of this hell, one step at a time.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Any last words of wisdom? Any positivity that you want to exude on or to give, I guess, to the audience?
Please buy my
buy his
art.
art.
I'm not built for OnlyFans.
Well, or only if you don't buy his art, he's going to get on OnlyFans. And if you think that he should get on OnlyFans, comment or reach out what the name of the OnlyFans should be.
Well, I said that recently too. I said, I'm going to start doing something where, like, if you buy a painting, I'll send you a nude. And if you don't want the nude, buy a painting or I will send you a nude.
There we go. All right, guys.
Foolproof marketing.
See you later. Bye, boy.
Welcome to San